So personally, I still want to be the best version of myself without sounding very podcasty, like I said before. There's this thing where I feel like a lot of work I've done in the past couple of years has taken its toll on me, like health-wise. So I feel like that's something that I don't talk about often because I don't know, it just feels like you are living some people's dream and then you still have something to complain about. So I feel like it's weird. So that's why I never really like talk about it. But the truth is that being in all these spaces, having all these opportunities and being able to like do all this work, sometimes like it begins to like not sometimes it tells on you because that's one of the things that contributed to me having to like really make a strict schedule and like reduce the amount of work I was doing. Because on a normal day, nobody says no to like money or like opportunities to like do gigs and like earn a living and whatever. But at some point, like I figured I didn't have time for anything else. I didn't even fucking know what was happening with me, like health wise. I was just so I think one of the things I want to achieve is to just get to a place where my health is like very important to me again. Like it got to a point where it was like I didn't even care about it anymore. I just was, being a little bit careless about taking care of myself and all that shit. So I want to really work on that. That's a personal W for me that will probably even be more important than whatever it is I can achieve with the music. Because I feel like if I'm here at my best, I can go on to do the things I want to do, even as a fucking someone that wants to make movies in the future, or as someone who wants to like do whatever he wants to do after the music. But I need to be here to do it. So that's something that I want to actually like but it's not a finite goal. It's not a goal, so I cannot call it a goal. Like I just want it to become a new lifestyle that follows me, like as I continue, like as a human being. So it's not a goal I'm trying to achieve and say you have won health or I've won, being fit or being healthy or losing weight or whatever it is. But I just want to get to a place where it's my new normal. You understand? So that's something that's very important for me. And I know it's weird. Like I don't think this was what you were expecting, but it's something that has become super important to me as as I as I become an old man. I something happened to me earlier this year that made me feel like I should take it very personally. And I feel like I don't know where I've said this before. I think I said it on a Twitter space, so I don't want to say it again. So it doesn't sound like it's more dramatic than it was. But I was out trying to. I was in the gym one day and then I fucking just collapsed out of not being. I don't know whether it was a health issue because it's like someone whose body is functioning normally should not just collapse off some shit, some aerobic exercises. Like it shouldn't just. And it was crazy because according to the people that were around, I was out for like 40 minutes at least. Like I didn't even know any of that shit was happening. Like when I came to like when I was revived, this is Nigeria now. We are very religious and spiritual here. So I woke up to a bunch of people praying around me and like fucking going ballistic and speaking in tongues. Everybody at the gym, everything quit. Like everybody was like, so I could imagine how bad it was if that's the scene I woke up to. And I couldn't even really hear what they were saying. It was still muffled. It was like, what the fuck is happening here? And they were like, I just passed out and someone spotted me. Someone spotted me on the floor somewhere. And then motioned to people to just what woke me up was I just tasted something sweet in my mouth. And then that's when I looked to my right and saw like a bottle of Lucozade on the floor. And then I think that was what they tried to force into my mouth because according to them, like my teeth was clenched and all that shit. Like, people fucking thought I was probably going to die or something. Like, it was crazy. Like, I cannot say what happened because obviously I was out at the time, but it had to be really serious. My gym instructor was just sitting down in a yoga pose next to me, like horrified. Like his face was like he had just seen a ghost. Like everybody around me was like, so that's what I used to gauge how bad it was because obviously I didn't know what happened. So that was one thing that happened to me this year that made me start thinking about all the rappers I've read about who something happened, like when Buster said he didn't know that in his sleep he was finding it hard to breathe. Then his son now found out, and that's how he went to the hospital and found that he had polyps in his throat. And then they asked him that he needed to do some things, have some lifestyle changes, lose weight and shit. Same with Fat Joe watching Big Pun die and deciding. So I don't have to wait till something that crazy happens to me, but this was like a wake-up call for me to say, okay, there are some lifestyle choices I need to start, making, and I think it will be better I'll be better for it because I'll be able to like, even go after this whole thing better, like perform on stage better, like a couple of things that will just tie into it, So that's one of the things that I'm really working on as I do the music stuff. I'm really trying to like change. Yeah, I've been trying it I've been having like moments, up, down moments where, I try to change my diet, try to change a couple of things, but it's up and it's down. But I think for the first time in a long time, I've been able to put like a consistent streak together, and I'm still, learning and, improving and researching and all that shit. So anyway, yada yada yada, but that's like that's
nah,
like
not yada yada. That's heavy, man. You are very loved, and I'm glad that you're still here, and that your reaction isn't to brush it off. Like a lot of, especially men, like we tend to think we're invincible until we're not. You know what I mean? That's
True.
I'm glad to hear that you're taking that serious, man. That's dope.
True. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's it, yeah, man.
We fucking need you, man. Don't go nowhere, all right?
Thank you, man. I won't.
Following this up. All right, man. You just making my job. All right. When have you gotten checked up? Like, are you okay for now?
Yeah. I actually went to the hospital after that. So, like, I did a bunch of tests. So I'm actually fine. But then obviously, like, I got some recommendations, some things I just needed to like start doing more. Like something as simple as the fact that I was always sitting at a desk all day, like staring at the fucking computer screen, just mixing every day, like that, back to back, very little movement. That wasn't good. It's not good for anybody. And for someone like me, like I'm always alone. Like that's how I am. Like I'm alone. I don't live with anybody. I just basically, even seeing sunlight, like being outside, like all those little things that seem like inconsequential, like those things were missing. Like I would be in a house all day, and probably because maybe I need the windows closed because the ACs are running or whatever. Like I had to consciously start reminding myself that, bro, it's fucking 10 a.m. in the morning. Crack the windows open, see what the fucking sun looks like that kind of thing. So
did
it's
they
just
say you had
all
like
those
a
small, small,
vitamin D
bro.
deficiency or
Exactly.
something?
Like just go outside. Like go outside. Do just try do something. So I just started making those changes little by little because I didn't even know that those things were telling on me. When you think that you are the hardest worker in the room, you're going so hard, like you're doing this for the passion, like it's for the love, it's for the then you're fucking dying slowly. so,
Jesus
so
Christ.
I have had to like start making like some changes and then start limiting the amount of work I do. It's been quite, liberating. It's not been very easy, having to change, your lifestyle and like switch up, with mostly no help. But at the same time, it's like it's also refreshing because I feel like um most people don't get that opportunity to like actually learn more about themselves and like figure out, you know, I don't know how to put this, but like in the context, let's take the context of marriage, for instance. Like before you get married to somebody now, sometimes people underestimate how much of an like how important it is for you to actually know yourself as a person before you say you can like be there for someone else or whatever. So I feel like there's the good, there's the bad, but like the good part of this is I'm beginning to realize, okay, that this was something that I needed to fix. These were some lifestyle changes I needed to make. I needed to do this. I need to do that. If I'm going to even like become the best version of myself that I can like present to whatever it is happens in my future, if I'm going to be, somebody's dad at some point in my life, I need to make sure that I even know what it is to be a healthy person or like be someone who takes his health seriously before I can advise someone else or like bring someone else into this. Like I get super deep with this shit, but that's basically like how I started seeing it. So that's what I'm.
I obviously there's no way I knew any of this coming into it. But I did have. Are you comfortable talking about your mental health?
Yeah, I am actually. I am. I feel like it's not even talked about. Stuff like this isn't talked about enough. So, I mean, I'm here for it.
How are you?
Man, to be honest, like when we're talking about the music shit in the beginning, stuff like that, it's very difficult for artists to actually like really say how they are, because it's like, I don't know, it's almost unfair, but it feels like artists are supposed to be, since you're the guy that is entertaining people, you're the guy that is bringing joy to other people. It's almost like you're not allowed to have an off day. It's not. It's like you're almost not supposed to be like. It's almost like people look at it like, you chose this life, so be there for us when we need you, like now. Make some music now, so that I can be happy. Don't give a fuck about how you feel, like that kind of thing. So there's that thing where that's how some people look at their favorite artist. So when the artist inevitably has like a human moment, something just goes off in people's brains. They're like, oh shit, this person is a human being. Oh my god, I didn't know this. Especially when they put themselves on a pedestal. That's why some people probably found it really difficult to listen to Kendrick's Mr. Morale album, because it's like, after thinking that somebody is fucking the next best thing after Jesus Christ, for the person to admit all those flaws that he has, on that album, it was really difficult for some people to digest. And I know they probably won't admit it to themselves that it's because of their own hang-ups that they had about Kendrick that was making it difficult for them to listen to the album. They will probably not admit that, but that's just the truth, because this guy has actually now said all the problems that he has. He has admitted all his flaws. I don't know how much of the flaws he admitted, but he laid some shit out for everybody. He was vulnerable. And then, because you see him a certain way, you are finding it difficult to, or you are looking at if someone like the song, like, what's that song? Anti-Diaries, where he was talking about his transgender uncle, that he's transgender. Think the person moved from being a man to being a woman. And then he was talking about his actual experience growing up using the F word and not knowing that it was derogatory, and then eventually getting to learn when it actually happened in his family that this is somebody telling you the actual thing. Like, do you expect him to sugarcoat the story? Like, do you expect him to, just so that you can feel better, he should now sugarcoat the story and tell you that, actually, I always knew that the F word was bad and I never used it from when I was little. He's telling you what happened. He's putting it out there at the risk of being cancelled. Like, he's saying it, and then there are people that are still finding problems. Like, bro, if this guy tells me he's not putting out music ever again, I'll understand, because there's nothing you cannot get more vulnerable than that. You understand? So at the end of the day, me personally, I won't say that I'm fine like 100%, but I'm way better than I was. Like I said, at the time when you first reached out to me to work with that guy, I'm using that because that's the time period that we both can refer to as like a point in time. That was one, like, I don't know how to explain it, but with all these things, it's like a continuous process. So there are points in your life where you know that you were at your lowest, and then there are points where you can say, okay, this is when I started to climb out, because such and such happened. I don't think it ever goes away fully, but that at some point in your life, you were not as bad as you used to be. If you were like super depressed and you couldn't get out of bed type situation, there are some times when you know that that's how low shit was. And then there's some times in your life where you were, what's that thing they call it? High functioning depression, where you are actively carrying the depression and walking around. So I think that's where I am now. Like, I'm able to really function highly with it, but it's like, it's not like it's gone away, because I know that there are certain things that if they happen differently in, like, let's say 2019, 2020, that period, my life will probably not be how it is now. Like, and me, I'm not the kind of person that likes to lay blame, as I like to take responsibility for everything that happens in my life, because I'm not religious, so I don't like to chalk it up to like some superstitious shit or whatever. Like, I feel like,
destiny,
you understand?
like
Exactly. So I know that if certain things didn't happen at that time, my reaction to those things is kind of what led me into a very dark place, and then climbing out of that place has taken so much time. So imagine all the work I would have done during that period, all the opportunities I would have said yes to that I turned down, all the times I didn't just want to leave the house, so I didn't just go to like an important thing that would have helped my career, and all those things. So, like I said, right now I'm at the point where I'm self-aware and I realize how much that played into what could have been, and I'm trying my best to make sure that you know, in as much as I'm a human being and I will react to stuff till the day I die, I have to also realize that, okay, enough time has passed between that time and now, that with all the research that I've done, with all the, you know, information that I've tried to reach out to find, with all the people I've talked to, with the people who have been there, you know, in my corner that I can share like problems with, you know, after some time, it has become easier to like process those things. Even when I think back, you know, it's easier for me to actually like reimagine those moments without actually like slipping back into like a dark place, because now I can just observe the feeling and let it pass, instead of like acting on it or like using it to go back to somewhere, you know, dark. So I can observe that this happened, and I was like, okay, that happened. That was crazy though. And then, you know, I allow it to move away. You know, that's my own form of meditation. I don't really do the whole yoga pose thing, or like, you know, I don't really know how to do all those ones, but that's how I process, you know, stuff now. So I can function and I can move, you know, but those things are things that in my head, in the back of my head, they're still there. Like, yeah, what if, you know, this, like, you know, things that are always reminding you what could have been, you know, why did you put yourself in this situation? Like all that. Without going into details, I just want to say that I'm way better than I was in like 2019, 2020, 2021, circa that period, you know, way better, like my people, my friends, and like people that are around me, you know, who knew how I was then when I was trying to like recover from certain things, or like, you know, go through certain emotions then. I think they can attest to the fact that I'm better now. But at the same time, the flip side of that shit is, you know, trying to also like minimize my exposure to the things that caused me to be in that situation like back then. Like, it has made me a little bit more closed off, you know, to new relationships with people, or like new opportunities and stuff like that. But I think on the balance of things, it's better for me, because I feel like I can actually wake up and be like, I don't know what would have happened if I had met up with that person, or if I had done so and so with that person. But at least I know that I'm here. I don't know what would have happened there, but at least I'm happy that I woke up this morning and I can move and go along with my day without thinking, you know, what could have been. As against a young, naive person prior to the things that happened to me happening, where I would have just gone into every situation like with a naive, like, everything, we are doing everything. I'm a young guy in this industry, we're doing everything. And then, you know, something happening where you're like, oh shit, I shouldn't have done that. So the experiences that I've had are shaping how I behave today, you know, and whether it's for the best, I don't know, but but I just move with a certain caution now. There's a couple of people, like if we're keeping it on the music now, there's a couple of people who I'm sure when they sit down sometimes they're like thinking, or more, when they reached out to Ojini to work at some point, you know, they didn't get the kind of audience that they were looking for, or probably they didn't, you know, or things didn't materialize. Some of them might even hold it against me like a grudge or whatever, you know, and I can understand that, but there's no way I can now come and start explaining to them like, oh shit, this is what happened, or like, oh, you're like, you just
Why
sound
not?
like
Why
a
not?
bitch. They're like, you can't do that. So you just have to, it just, sometimes it is what it is. And then if you were protecting your peace at the time, or like protecting your space at the time, I think that's also, you know, valid. I'm not even, this, the one we've been talking about is not even what I'm talking about. Like, there's so many artists that right now, if you ask them, like, I'm not even kidding you, like, not just rappers, like artists that are not even in the rap space, are like in the Afrobeat space, that have gone on to like do crazy things now in this our industry, where at some point we were, the DMs were, we had conversations, like some things were supposed to happen, and then a series of events just led me to like just say, you know, fuck it, I'm not doing anything. And I just went in this period of like, I'm not doing shit. I don't care who you are, even if you're J. Cole and you call me, I'm not even answering, that kind of thing. You know, when your mind goes into this weird space, when you are depressed, and like when you are going through like mental health issues, where things that you do don't even make any sense to the outside observer. It's like you're not operating like a regular human being, you know. So at the end of the day, I acknowledge that all those things happened, you know, but you know, it is
You
what it is.
are you cool with some follow-up questions about that?
I mean, like, go ahead. I started it, so
No, I mean, I just, so you started this by saying like it's important because these conversations don't happen enough, and
Yeah.
I agree fully. First and foremost, it's beautiful to hear that you're on the upswing, that it's coming back,
Right.
and that it does get better. That's an important message. You know what I mean?
Yes.
That's
Yes.
that's very important. Um, I do want to talk about the concept of like I can't reach back out to somebody who I snubbed while I was at my lowest because I can't explain it to them, right? I agree with you that there's a public perception that vulnerability equals weakness, right? Like that, and that's one of the things that we're trying to change, through the narrative of 2023, so we can lower the
Yeah.
male suicide rates in the fucking world. You know
Right.
what I mean?
Right. Right,
So
bro.
my question to you is then, do you still subscribe to that thought process? Because like for you to not want to do that, if you didn't subscribe to that thought process, I would think that wouldn't even be there then, right?
Actually, I see what you're saying, and I'm not saying that if I'm actually like going straight to the point about certain people that I might have referred to. Most of these people we are good now, and it's like I've been able to actually like say to some of them that this is what happened. It's not like I have not, it's okay. So everybody is different. So I have a couple of people who, even though I did not get to work with them or like things didn't happen the way it was supposed to happen back then when I didn't feel like I wanted to do anything, for myself, talk more like with anybody, at that time, even though we could not have those conversations, a couple of those guys now, like through like one way or the other, we've run into each other somewhere. We've had like conversations, maybe at like events or whatever, and we've had these conversations like a bunch of them to stuff happened to them during that same period, which made them relate to what I was saying. So it's not like it was something that was just alien or like something that happened to just me. So it was actually refreshing that if I'm telling somebody that during that period, I couldn't really like, because this, how this, and then the person now tells me that they had like a similar experience, maybe not at that exact time.
Right.
It actually now makes me feel better that, oh shit, I wasn't just the only person. Like, this thing, like, everybody has different experiences that can lead them down a certain path. So it was fun to hear that. But what I'm saying is that obviously it wasn't for everybody. Like it didn't happen. Like not every one of those instances had like a happy ending like this. You understand? There's some of them where it was like some of them already kind of made up their minds that I didn't do it because I was kind of like snobbish or because I felt like at that time my career was moving in a certain way. So it wasn't worth it for me or whatever. Like, and sometimes when these people make these feelings known, it's just a tact issue. Like it's not an issue of like we can never have the conversation. It's just like a tact issue and a timing issue. It's like, can we have that conversation now? Probably not. But like, will we have that conversation at some point? Probably. It's just a thing where, and then some of them, it's like some of them. So if it's like 5 people now, for instance, you might have like 3 where I really wanted to work with these people, but at the time I didn't have anything to give them because I was coming from an empty place. Then from the remaining 2 people, could be that one of them I didn't really like want to work with them anyway. So it's like whether or not I was down, like I wouldn't have worked with them. But the fact that I didn't now end up working with them now made it like all the worse. Like it was now like this guy thinks like he's fucking too talented for this shit or whatever. Because I never used to throw that in anybody's face. Like to me, I feel like I've not achieved anything. Like I don't even know how, to be honest, when some people really like give me compliments, I'm really bad at taking compliments. Throughout this interview, every single positive thing you said about me, I've just been trying my best to like
I
accept the
know.
compliments because it's like in my
We can
head,
we
like
can see it, my guy.
bro, like in my head, I keep thinking like I don't know what these guys are saying, to be honest, because I've not done anything. So I'm not even that guy. Like people that have that misconception about me, they really do not know because I'm not trying to sit down here and act like I'm some humble girl, but it shows. Like I've never sat down to like blow my like there are so many things I've done that have gone under the radar. Like if I was the average Nigerian that achieves something, you will hear about it from where you are in America. Like that's how loud we can get about our achievements. But someone like me, I don't know, I think I'm just different in that way where it's like I see where I'm trying to go and because it still seems like it's so far away. Is not good though that I behave like that, but sometimes it just feels like my achievements just pale in comparison, to where I think I want to go. So that's why sometimes I don't, so my point is I'm not that guy. So when people that I have not worked with, or maybe that I didn't make myself available to, try to make it look like it's because he thinks it's such and such, it's just not that, but like I said, out of the three people that I probably wanted to, from the remaining two, one person I probably didn't want to work with, but then another person that I probably wanted to work with, but because during that time they just formed an opinion that this is how I am, and they didn't just keep it to themselves. They probably told a couple of people, and then that shit came back to me, or like they made it known, in various ways, either subbing me or like directly, even though I don't take offense, it does not now seem like that's the best time for me to now start having the conversation with you that, bro, this is the reason why. Because I in that moment, I don't think you deserve the conversation, because you just ran with a narrative without giving me the grace that I probably would have given you if you were in that same situation. Like, I've had some artists that I wanted to work with that I reached out to, and then when they ghosted me, quote unquote, to be very honest with you, my first instinct was, is this guy okay? Because I knew what I was going through at that time. I think that's what kind of like gave me, that insight to be like, I really wish I could call names, but it's like, I think for this particular example, the artist to know himself, like, we're supposed to do a song together. And then, I knew that, we had conversations before where I kind of knew that he was going through stuff, and then, we were just cool like that. We've had like, we kind of bonded over that. And then when it came time for us to work, like, he was super excited, and then for no reason he just disappeared. Like, he was no longer like interested in doing the record, and this would have been crazy for the culture and shit, But my first instinct was, if you go back and read our messages, everything is, bro, are you okay? Is everything all right? Like, it was not from a place of, nah, fuck you, man. I thought we were going to do this. Like, it was never that. And then eventually we had a conversation not too long ago, like a couple weeks back. This after I've been trying to get him to just like even tell me whether he was okay. This like for a long time now. We had the conversation, and then he still couldn't like give me details, but then it was along the lines of, I couldn't be available for you because some like personal stuff. And that was okay for me. Like, I didn't necessarily need to, like, I wasn't even pressing issue. But that grace now, sometimes you don't get it from other people. You understand? So if you don't get it from other people, I don't see any reason why I should owe you an explanation, or like start telling you. The people that deserve that explanation are people that gave me the grace of, okay, maybe they know me enough to know that I'm not just trying to be a snob, or I'm not just trying to be like, I'm trying to be a bad person or whatever. Because we all go through this shit. Like, all of us that are artists, at some point, everybody has had their phase where it's like, so I think that should make all of us compassionate to each other. But sometimes it just feels like some people just decide, that you are not doing this because, so that's what I was trying to say, Sha. I hope that I
look,
made the point.
you explain yourself very well. I put out a tweet within the last 4 days or something like that, right? Somebody left me a very heartfelt comment, and it was like fucking 6 paragraphs long in my mind as I'm fucking reading it. And as someone who came up in battle rap, I handle negativity way better than I handle compliments. You know what I mean?
Right.
Same thing with the YouTube stuff, right? Like you don't hear me bitch about the 10,000 negative comments telling me to go fuck myself, because I'm used to that.
Right.
The stuff that makes my stomach feel uncomfortable is when someone's trying to big me up and say that I've done X, Y. Like, I relate to what you just said incredibly. And I feel almost obligated to point this out right now. Your own perception of you, my guy, is so far from reality. You have done so much, my guy. For people, for me to be, I didn't sleep last night. This was like Christmas for me. I was so excited for this. You can go check my fucking socials. I've been hyped about this story. For you to affect somebody on the other side of the fucking world, loosely connected, like, you are incredible, my guy. And like, dog, it's okay to accept that, Nice. And if it's hard, I can't complain, because I'm the same way, and I haven't figured out how to get rid of it myself. but I
Right.
do know that the very least I can tell you is I'm known for not lying. I'm known for just calling it like it is. And I wouldn't say a single one of these things just for the save face, dude. Like feel good about yourself. I hope you feel good about yourself.
Man, thanks. Like I'm learning gradually. Like I'm learning gradually. It's not been the straightest road, but I'm learning gradually because sometimes I go out there and I see the way people big themselves up, and I'm like, is this real? Like, is it normal? Like, I look at the way some people present themselves, like both on stage or in their music or like on social media, and I'm like, is this real? Like, a lot of it just looks fake to me, and I know that it's not all fake, you understand? But because of my own perception, like that's the reason why some people are
Right.
trolls on the internet. Not because it's not because they just want to be like, look at me. I can't even believe I'm trying to play devil's advocate for Twitter trolls now, but just hear me out. Like I'm saying, some people that are trolls on the internet is the whole is the cliche narrative of like hurting people hurt people,
Hurt
but
people hurt
that's
people.
too simplistic. You understand? It's too simplistic. I think if you look deeper than that, it's like somebody who never really saw the value in themselves. Like you truly don't see the value. You're like truly, like even if you look deeply, your achievements don't look that great to you. You don't get the reason why people compliment you that much. You don't fucking understand why people are going crazy over a song that you probably made in your sleep. Like you don't get it truly. When you now go on the internet and see someone who really values themselves, or like someone who is like bigging themselves up, or like does
You
something
almost
that
can't
you,
believe it. Like
bro, like someone who probably just got their first couple thousand streams and is feeling so good about it, like, hey, yo, like this is crazy, man. I can't believe, like, almost coming to tears about it. And then inside your mind, you're looking at the person like, I'm happy for you, but that's because of that black hole somewhere in your mind that you cannot understand how someone can be happy for themselves. You now transfer that shit to the person unfairly. You understand? You just start letting the person know that this achievement is nothing now because but to the person it's everything. So that's the whole reason why all these trolls exist. It's like they're just transferring, their own value system and their own opinions about. So I feel like that's the reason why it is the way it is. So me knowing that, I've now it has helped me kind of start to separate. I can now genuinely be happy for somebody because you will never know how much it means to that person, when they are expressing their happiness. So happiness is something that is supposed to be contagious. So I'm just looking at it like, man, if this thing makes you feel this way, then man, I'm fucking happy for you, to be honest. Like, I don't fucking know what your day-to-day life is, but you're fucking smiling and you're happy. So that must be great. Happy for you. And then I move on to the next thing. Instead of always trying to like see yourself in every situation and like put yourself in everything and like make yourself this super like high it's the arrogance of it all. Like it's crazy. Like you see everybody through your own lens and you try to impart your own opinion on, bro. Like sometimes when I go on Twitter just for the fun of it and I see how everybody feels they must comment on everything, I'm like, bro, why? Like somebody cannot just be having the time of their lives now and then maybe post that he and his wife traveled somewhere. It's not your business that they chose to post it. Like if that's how they felt in the moment and they felt like, yo, I want to share this on my, if you feel like they shouldn't be doing that, then scroll past it and like keep it moving. But no, some people find it necessary to go like, so
yeah,
it's just, and I think another thing about it is that I got caught up too much in social media at some point because I don't think it would be wise to like talk about this whole mental health thing without talking about how social media came into it, because I became caught up at that point. The worst thing I needed to do for myself was to start comparing myself to other people. That was one thing that really like put the nail in the
that's dope.
coffin that time, because during that period, instead of me trying to like, okay, figure out what's going wrong with me and like try to find a way to maybe lean on family or like try to get resources to help myself or like try to get out of the situation I was in mentally, I would compound the situation by going on social media to start looking at other people that were doing better than me, musically, or like people who were my peers who were supposed to be competing with me in the same space and how they were, doing great or like going on tour or like fucking, releasing, critically acclaimed projects or like, having massive streaming numbers. And I would just, the whole thing would just re-loop into another cycle of like self-hate and all that shit. So it was one of those things where I had to consciously tell myself that, whatever action you need to take to stop this, like whether it's something as crazy as, deleting, because at some point that was the decision I had to, like, I just deleted Instagram and Twitter off my phone, and I didn't care about them anymore, for a long time. Like, I didn't post anything, I didn't make any, I virtually just disappeared, and then the bad part about it actually was, instead of me to leave it like that, I now started feeling insecure for some reason about previous work that I had put out. Started feeling like they were shit, that they were not good enough. So I would go on Instagram and I would archive all my work. You would go to my page, you wouldn't see anything there. And all the stuff that I had done that people were supposed to like know me for, because that thing is virtually like, it's only in our time that you have an opportunity to like show your work for everybody to see without having to like beg anybody. If you have an online presence, you can fucking put all your work there. It's almost like I was now shooting myself in the foot. Like, I just went and people would go to my page, and like maybe someone that really loved one freestyle I did one time would like go to my page and it's no longer there. And then after a while, I started seeing like a gradual decline of people checking for me, because it was like people that were checking for me before were like, this nigga is not serious, man. This guy doesn't know what the fuck he's doing, man. And then after a while, he started getting to me, because I was like, the guys that I've managed to like pull together and build this community with, I'm now the one that is like pushing them away, so it was crazy at some point. So I had to tell myself, fuck it. I have to find a way to like physically pull myself out of this, because there's the African man thing where it's like, you can't even wallow in this shit too long. Like, if you think men are regarded as like, you have to always be, bro, try an African man, like try a Nigerian, like our own is on a different level. And where I'm from, like, I'm an Igbo man, so like our tribe, we're one of the proudest, like when it comes to male ego, like our own is like fucking, this is scratching the ceiling. You understand? So, and my dad would probably never hear that, I was depressed, or like I fucking had like a weak moment, or like had a mental break. Like, what? You had a mental what? Like, what the fuck is that? Like, all the stuff they had to surmount, like they were alive during the fucking Nigerian Civil War and they survived it, and then you're coming here and talk about being fucking depressed over some shit. So it's
Bro,
like, nobody even wants to hear that shit.
I,
So
I get that. That's it's definitely a generational thing for sure. Like trying to
true.
talk to the older generations about putting yourself first. It's just not how they were raised. You know what I mean? So it's
At all.
difficult
At
to make
all.
those adjustments. I want to offer you an analogy that helps me, because we do have that in common with the whole. It's hard to take a compliment thing, or you just think that people are capping or being nice or so on and so forth. This is the best way that I've come to wrap my mind around it, right? Have you ever been talking to like a beautiful woman who just has body dysmorphia, who's just convinced that she's overweight, or she's too tall, or she's got too big of a nose, and you're sitting there looking at, and it's like, you are the most beautiful thing I've ever seen in my life. How can I convince you to see yourself through my eyes? I think we just
Right.
experience a male version of that. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like if you can conceptualize empathy for that woman who has that body dysmorphia, and you know that you're right, because you know what I mean? Like our perception isn't altered, your perception is altered. And then if you can try to apply that back to yourself, you know what I mean? Like there's a chance that
Yeah.
everyone else is right on this and I am wrong, and that's okay.
I
That's the
agree with you.
closest I've gotten.
I agree. And this is a fantastic analogy. Like, it's a fantastic analogy, because even literal body dysmorphia is something that I suffered from for the longest time. Like, in this whole period of my life where I'm trying to like live healthier and like make healthier choices, I just thought to myself one day that for a long time, like for the past like 5 years, I've never seen myself as someone that looked good. Like, I never at any point in the past, like, I don't know the last time I can remember. I think the last time I remember that I looked at myself and thought that I looked good was probably in university. And that's like 2012. So it's been a long time. And I didn't know what it was. I didn't know there was a name for it or whatever. And then I just remembered one day recently when I weighed myself, I was like, yes, I know I need to lose some weight and shit, but And then thought back to like 5 years ago when I really had like serious. In fact, I still have it till today. Like I never ever thought that I had like my own body dysmorphia. I know it's mostly talked about like in women, but I had it to a point where no matter what anybody gave me like as a physical compliment, I would just brush it off and I'll be like, nah, bro, it can't be me you're talking about. And then what now hits it for me was the weight I'm trying to lose now, like my weight right now, and then my weight like 5 years ago, when I didn't really like when I wasn't really worried about losing weight, when I was actually like a good, like I didn't like it wasn't in my mind, like I was just living my life. You know how people that are not overweight are not thinking about it every day, you know, that kind of thing. So I wasn't really thinking about it. I remember that even at that weight, I'm not supposed to be thinking about it or whatever, but even at that weight, I still thought that I needed to lose weight. That was like 5 years ago. Like I still thought that, like every day I was obsessing about it when the normal person shouldn't even have like. So in my head, I'm thinking about like I've carried this thing for years, you know, up until the point where I just realized that, oh shit, it's actually now something that has become an obsession. Like it's now more than what is physically like the physical challenge might still be there, but the mental part of it was a huge part of it. So me thinking about it that way and realizing it was part of the things where I was like, oh shit. So now I need to also realize that it's not a number I'm trying to hit. Like I'm not trying to do some fucking lose 30 kg in 7 days type situation. Like I'm just trying to be a fucking healthier person. You understand? I'm not trying to win at it.
Feel
So
good about yourself, right? Just be
that's just
proud
it.
of
That's
being
just
you.
it. So that's just it. Like it's crazy how the second part of this interview now is kind of like become a therapy session. But,
I'm telling you, this is gonna go
yeah,
down as the greatest interview ever. Maybe I'll cut them. You know what I mean, and post them in segments or something like
I
that.
mean, do. I mean, you have everything, so just do with it whatever you want. I just feel like this is a very important conversation that we're having, and I like the fact that it's just like flowing from topic to topic, and you know, I rarely
I
do
mean,
stuff like this. So
I think it's important that I'm definitely somebody that preaches protect your peace. You know what I mean? I'm someone that preaches that, I personally have had a mental health journey for the last 4 years that has like the person I was 5 years ago is unrecognizable to who I am today. Like
damn,
I have nothing in common with myself 5 years ago. And it's like
that's crazy.
but it's all for the better though, right? Like this has all been growth. This has been me trying to get rid of toxic behaviors and patterns in my life and realize like maybe some shit that I used to think was cool is actually not cool. And you know what I mean? Like just grow up. You know what I mean? Like I feel like it's just been like a second puberty. Like this is like maturity. You know what I mean?
Right. Like mental puberty, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So like I can't preach all that and then be afraid to communicate publicly and try to encourage other people that it's okay to communicate publicly. You know what I mean? If I'm not willing to participate myself, I've always been a lead by example type person. You know what I mean? So I love this conversation. I think that obviously I like that you're on the upswing of everything. Myself as well. You know what I mean? Like I'm in a good spot right now. So that's beautiful.
Yeah. Love that. Like I love that. I love that I'm actually enjoying making music again because at some point I really didn't like I wasn't the joy wasn't any there anymore. Like it was now a chore to make music at some point. So I'm happy now that I can just actually be genuinely making music and lose track of time. Like that is something that I'm really happy about now. Like I can just and it doesn't have to be. I know that you have to create a certain type of structure for creativity for it to grow. You can't just always wait for when you're in the mood. But sometimes like anywhere it hits me, I can just like start making music. I can just be sitting in the living room now and then I just grab my laptop and then just sitting down there in the most weird position, maybe lying down or something. I can just like start making something and then when it starts looking like it's going somewhere and I'll enter the studio and like finish it. So that's the space I'm in now and I'm so happy. I feel like if this is a time period, let me just maximize it in case it goes away. I just try to like hold it down.
Absolutely though, right?
Bro, like I'm telling you, the last time I felt this good about making music was during the Chameleon era. Like even when I made Tears Are Salty for a reason, I put that project out as like a necessity record because I had so much energy I was holding on to at that time that I felt I just needed to put the music out, not because I was excited about dropping the music, but I just felt it just needed to go out there. You know, that's why sometimes I'm perplexed that people's favorite song on the project is where I'm talking about losing my mom. And I'm like, that song was just catharsis for me. And then it's somebody's favorite song. That's weird. You understand? So I was doing a show last November, and then they were asking me to perform the song, and people were rapping the song along with me. I'm like, but your moms didn't die. Are we sure this is okay? Like in my head, I was just overthinking it, and then everybody was enjoying the music. So that's how I was when I put that. But the last time I felt like this was Chameleon, where I was just making music, where I would just wake up and feel super inspired and be like, just enter the studio and like make something. You understand? So I'm happy that that's how I'm feeling now, you know, and I'm just
how does
trying.
it feel? How does it feel right now to talk about it? Like, what are you experiencing while we're having this conversation?
It feels good to be able to talk about it because most times you can't. That's just the truth. So most times I can't. Like, I have very few friends, very few, like very few. I don't think the friends that I can talk to like closely are up to 5. Like, we're very few. So it's like you don't also want to do this all the time. So you run the risk of trauma dumping. Like, I don't want to be the friend that, you know, every time that you speak to them, you know, they always have some deep issue that they're talking about that they want to vent about. Like, venting occasionally is okay, you know, but I read somewhere, you know, where it begins to cross into trauma dumping and how it can affect your friendship and all that shit. So I don't know if I'm doing it the best, but I'm aware of it, you know, so I try my best not. So I don't get to talk about this all the time. But at least in the context of music, you know, this is a space where I feel like it can work, you know. So I'm happy that we can have the conversation, you know, and yeah.
I think something that I like doing is I feel like you can do anything as long as there's consent. You know what I mean? As long as there's preemptiveness. So I would reach out to you. I would be like, yo, my guy, we need to go and have an us session and kick it. I'm letting you know right now, let's hang out twice. You know what I'm saying? Let's go grab some lunch one day. But I need the trauma dump because I need someone to talk to. So whenever you're ready for that, whenever you're in the space for that, like we need to, you know, let's go grab something and kick it. And I just need someone. Like, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. You know what I mean? It's
Oh, that's actually that's crazy. Like, I feel like that takes it away from being a trauma dump, because I think
yeah,
from what I read, one key thing that makes it a trauma dump is the unexpectedness of it. Like, if once it's unexpected, it's automatically like a trauma dump. Like, if all of a sudden like shit just goes left and then you just continue and continue and continue, and the other person doesn't have time to like maybe contribute to the conversation or like share some of their similar problems with you, and it's just you going on and on and on. So there are like some telltale signs of it being a trauma dump. So I think with what you said now, like it's amazing how simple it is, but how I didn't even think of it that way. So automatically your friend knows that I'm here today to be here for my guy. You
and they're able
understand?
to
So
prepare themselves
I
and
think
shit
that,
like that. You know?
yeah, I think that works. That works. I would do that for someone too. If someone told me that, you know, this is, I would be all ears. Like, it's like there's a new energy
Exactly.
because you know you are prepared for it, and then you don't necessarily even need to be the therapist or like offer any solutions. Most times people just want you to listen. So I mean, this is dope though. Like, you sound like somebody who has been doing a lot of work too. So, you know, this is the kind of talk you hear from people who have been in therapy and shit. So that's dope.
I've been, like I said, the last 4 years at least, like the last 4 or 5 years, like what you're talking about, nothing that you've said is like foreign to me, you know, except the body dysmorphia.
Right.
I make porn, so I don't have that. But like outside of
Right.
that, like like I feel you with like everything that she was saying. Like, I think it's just a very very common experience. You know what I mean? It's just a common human experience to have the ebbs and flows, and we're live in a unique time where it's becoming more and more acceptable to talk about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
Thankfully,
like,
you know, the flip side of that is we're also in a time where you get to see real time, you know, the extreme, like what the extreme can also be. Like people who probably will cut corners to like achieve a particular physique, but then, you know, will not be totally honest about it. So it creates this kind of unhealthy obsession with looking a particular way, you know, when you don't necessarily know that corners were cut to achieve that physique. And then you just keep killing yourself trying to achieve something that will never happen. You know, so on the two sides, it's like,
dude, it's
yes,
a
you are more
fucking
vulnerable.
epidemic at this point. It's absolutely
Bro,
an
like,
epidemic. Like,
bro, it's crazy. Like if someone is not in tune and like constantly like doing research and checking, you probably will be swept up in the whole thing. Like you can imagine how many people's how will I put it? Will I say idea of certain celebrities was shattered when they figured out that okay, so and so person that you thought lost certain amount of weight did not lose it naturally, or maybe they took like semaglutide or like Ozempic or like fucking did some shit, and then you think
Right.
that these guys like on a crazy weight loss journey, but you don't know that okay, these guys can afford liposuction or some shit, or like finding out that The Rock uses steroids or like, stuff like that, where every day you watch him in the gym, like going crazy, and you think it's because he's just lifting weights. So it's like all people when people's expectations and stuff gets it's good and it's also bad because it's like everything is out there now. So pick your poison. Like if you want to go that route, you can go that route. If you want to be honest with yourself and go at your pace, which is your best bet, then you do that. So that's
What
kind of
were,
like
what
the
were
route
some
I'm
of
on now.
the things that you did that helped you take that first step from the worst to the next up? To you know what I mean? Like what like for someone that's watching this, if they're agreeing with us and they're like, I'm going through that right now. What's something that you did to just help you get out of bed in the morning, like just to get started on the recovery side of it?
Yeah, I one of the first things that I remember doing was I okay, so some of them came like together. Some of them were harder than others. So one of the first things I did was okay, so getting yourself out of a situation is usually very difficult. So it differs from person to person. So I don't think I can really get into that. But one of the first things that I know I did that, can apply to everybody is I changed my environment. Like first of all, I think that was the first thing I did because I don't know, for some reason, feeling the way I was feeling and staying where I was staying. It's like two things that didn't need to be happening at the same time. Like one was they were just feeding into each other, and then I would just wake up and just hate my entire existence when I looked around. So at some point, I just needed, and I'm not saying like I eventually moved like from where I was living to a new place, but obviously that's not what I'm saying. Like because
Get
not
out of
everybody
bed.
can afford to just get up ahead. So when I say change environment, like I literally like went to stay with a friend for like a couple months. Like that one is something that anybody that has a friend that is willing to accommodate them for a period can do. I feel like just having people around to talk to, having like people to bounce energy off of. Because me, I was always a loner. Like I was always alone. So stewing in those feelings alone sometimes can be really bad. So one of the first things I did was my way of reaching out. Like I didn't want to just like maybe be calling someone on the phone every day when they are not my therapist and like basically like, trauma dumping as it were. But what I did was I just first of all I switched environments, and just that one step, I think even the action of getting up and trying to like leave where you are, like go someplace else. In your case, it might be fucking take a walk, it might be maybe visit a friend, it might be have a friend come over, it might be go visit your family, it might be anything that
Right.
will get you out of that, because the physical space you have around you. And the funny thing, I think what triggered that move, it was a very funny thing, but it was a movie. It was a series on Netflix that I was watching. I think it's The Haunting of Hill House. That's what got me into Mike Flanagan and his horror work. Like that's what actually made me Mike Flanagan stand. Like I've watched everything he has done, but that was the key moment for me. The series, the way the guy does horror, like he does horror from a place of like, it's not about the jump scares, it's not about making you afraid, it's about using the horror tropes in a way that by the time you get to the point of the story, you realize that this is a fucking real life story that could happen to anybody. And the horrors now become not CGI anymore, not effects anymore, but like you begin to really see them as manifestations of what's in your mind. So in case I'm sounding too abstract, this particular movie now, normal, people move into a new house and then it's haunted, right? That's like classic horror trope, But eventually, what happened was the person haunting this house, if I'm trying to, I know this people that have watched this will probably crucify me, but I'm trying to oversimplify this shit. So the tall figure that haunts the halls of the house happened to be an actual guy that died at some point when the house was like super old, and then I think he was actually murdered and like buried in the walls. So his spirit haunts the house. But at the end of the movie, what you now realize is that because there's an actual body that decomposed, in those walls, the material that was used to make those walls, there was a special type of mold that started growing in those walls. And then the spores that those molds would like emit into the air were actually hallucinogens. So if you actually breathe those things in, like scientifically, if you breathe those things in, you can actually hallucinate shit. So me going and then figuring out that this was the point of this movie and going to research and find out that this shit is actually true in real life.
Spore,
And
like...
bro, like that shit blew my fucking mind. So I now thought to myself, what if this rundown, dingy fucking apartment I'm sitting in now has mold in the walls that I'm breathing and like accentuating my fucking, thoughts and whatever. Like it was funny, but then I was just go, I like, bro, I just called one of my friends who like is one of my closest guys till today. I'm like, I just need like fucking, let me just, I don't do, I just want to stay out for a bit. And then that was the first step, and then I think just from there, I was able to, just start from somewhere. I really can't detail like exactly how everything went. But this at this moment I'm describing now was February last year. So you see how recent it is. It's not even like it was like
No, I'm talking
a
about when I
while
was
ago,
16, like...
and then from there, bro. So it's like just continue to move from there and move on. Wait, you said who was 16?
No, I'm saying it's not like it happened when I was 16. It happened just recently. I was just saying,
Oh,
like,
right. So yeah, that's exactly what I was trying to say. Like everybody has their own, but that was my own step. I wish I could like really talk about some other things I did, but then that would be it will now lead to like mentioning names or like rehashing things that are not necessarily appropriate for this interview. So I just feel like that's something that I know at least everybody to an extent can do. The steps that I took on the other side to like remove myself from certain situations might not be applicable for everybody else. And it might be easier for some people to remove themselves from some situations than other people. Like some people stay in really toxic situations not because they want to, but because they really don't know any better and they don't know how to like some people they can't even. So if I start saying anything about that, it'll probably be insensitive to people that can't or people who are. So
I think a beautiful thing about this is that like mine was the exact opposite. So like your first step of getting out was like addition, right? You wanted to like start being around other people, go hang out with a friend, stay at the house and everything like that. For me, it was the opposite. So for me, it was subtraction. I started feeling better when I started removing the things from my life that I was just dealing with out of politeness or just dealing with out of routine or tradition. And by eliminating those things from my life, my base level of happiness, when you have less shit weighing you down that you're fucking worried about, your base level of fucking happiness goes up. And I think that's like 100% what I would attribute my first step, so to speak. You know what I mean? To coming is like, if something wasn't bringing me joy, just eliminate it. And it was hard.
True. That shit goes hand.
You know what?
Like, true.
I'm gonna take it a step further to show you how much. Because I will name names and stuff like that. Like I'll tell you exactly what happened. Right? I have the closest friend group anyone ever has in their life. Like you hear me talk about White Street all the time. You already know what it is. Like those are my brothers. Those are like people are like you were saying. Like if I had the closest people to me, I couldn't name 5 people. Like that's a real thing that people feel. I never had that. My people, like we've been together forever. And like 100% uptime, like not, you know what I mean? Like that's rare. And I found in those recent years, I had outgrown the environment that I was used to seeing them. And we would do things like have poker nights. We play poker a lot. So we would play poker every single month. And I started realizing that I would not be looking forward to it because I knew that someone was going to get too drunk, or I knew that someone was going to like be trauma dumping because we haven't seen each other in a month, and like that there wasn't going to be any jolliness. You know what I mean? And it was like I had to step away from the fucking 10 people in this world who would take a bullet for me because I needed to focus on myself. It
Bro, like you
wasn't
have no idea
like
how much what you said now just hit home. Like I'm so sorry that I'm speaking in like in between what you're saying, but you have no idea what you said because, bro, like I'm very sure there's some people who would hear what I'm saying right now that will know exactly the people I'm talking about. But I've had the same situation where it just seems like these same people who are like your I don't want to say too much about it, but I just feel like this that you just said, bro, it hit home, like it hit the fuck home because sometimes it be that same group, you know, and sometimes they may know it, they may not, but then if you are really being honest with yourself, sometimes it's the hardest thing to do, but removing yourself from that space is what you actually need, you know, to move forward. So I get it 100%. You know, I get it because that was when I say there were so many other things that I did that I don't want to like talk about or name names, bro. Like I was going to head there, like if I was going to name names and shit, but like these are things that I did alongside changing my environment that really helped because I just told myself that it cannot continue like this. You know, I don't want to sound like someone that is trying to be like, I don't want to sound like an Instagram influencer saying, you know, I outgrew certain people, I tried to cut people off or some shit. But in essence, sometimes like you just know that where you are going and where certain people are not because of it. I'm not saying anything financial or anything like physical or anything like achievement wise or whatever. Like sometimes when we are in our 30s or whatever, like your opinions on life begin to like fully form and then begin to really take root on how like you treat other people or how you know how you move in life. Maybe you start thinking about having your own kids and then have trying to impart like who you are as a person on them and all that stuff. So by the time you start looking at things and looking around, you know, you start figuring, wow, maybe as younger people, I was actually like on the same wavelength with so and so person. But now that we are getting to this particular age where things are beginning to like, you know, become solid and like life is beginning to life, you understand?
right.
You just realize that this shit ain't working, man. Like it's not actually like it's not working. I don't know how to explain it, but this does not tie in with what I'm trying to do. Like sometimes it just really eats at your value system, and that's like the only thing that you hold there, like as a human being. That's like your anchor. That's the thing that makes you who you are. So you just have to tell yourself that okay, you'll probably have to limit, you know, what's happening here. You know, and it could be the hardest thing ever because it will be like 10 years ago, it would probably be unfathomable. You understand? But but now it has
Wouldn't it?
become
What the
something
thought wouldn't
big to
even
do.
fucking existed. That would never even.
Exactly. Like we wouldn't even think about it like this,
But
you
this,
know,
yo,
but
like you're making a great point because like that's for me personally, that's the most frustrating thing, right? What they don't tell you about fixing yourself is as you start to fix yourself, it becomes very, very easy to notice other people are broken, and other people who are broken are not in the phase of their life of fixing themselves yet, right?
exactly. And
And
because you
then
can't
like,
force it for anybody else. All you can do is to just remove yourself, you know, like find a way to allow them do their thing at their own pace, you know, because you can't fix them at that point. And then you are not a therapist. You can't like I don't know how to explain it. You just realize and then the people that you can help, like if someone that is really close to you and then you can like offer advice or whatever, it gets to a point where it can quickly cross over into being like preachy or you being the person that thinks you have life all figured out and whatever. So in those situations, like it's
yes,
very tricky. Like I said, nobody gives you any manual. Like you don't know how to handle those situations. You just
you'll relate to this, you know, based on I think you'll relate to this based on the you know the conversations we had prior. But this kind of goes back to the whole not being able to take a compliment thing, right? People like us who are like that, uh, you tend to want to help other people, right? You tend to like
right.
see value in others and everything like that. And what I did, how do I word this? I want to word this correctly. I pride myself on being able to be there for the people I love. The same way I said I had 10 people that would take a bullet for me, I would take 10 bullets for each one of them. And I realized that I wasn't in a position to be able to do, I wasn't in a position that if somebody wasn't feeling well, that I could talk them out of it because I wasn't well. And I realized that if I want to be able to help the people that I love and I care about, that I have to fix myself first. Does that mean, you get me?
Bro.
And it's like, it's very hard to care for yourself and make those selfish decisions until you start convincing yourself that you're doing it for the eventual benefit of people that you care about. We'll often do a lot for others that we don't do for ourselves.
That's true. Also, yeah, that's true. That's really true. That's true. Sometimes thinking about it from that perspective helps you, like, helps it become like something bigger than you. So because of that, you kind of encourage yourself, because you know that, I mean, it's the thing about, like, when you're a parent, for instance, like, one of the reasons why you mature very quickly when you're a parent is because you very suddenly realize that you're not doing anything for yourself anymore. Like, you have to be there for people who didn't ask to be brought into the world. So you just have to mature really fast. If not, like, I mean, at the end of the day, that's how I look at it sometimes. Because one of the things that used to give me a lot of anxiety during my darkest times was like, what if during this time, like, something happens and then you have to, like, be the guy that everybody goes to for everything? Like, what if at some point, the way your mom is gone now, what if one day, like, your dad goes to, and then all of a sudden, as the first son of the family, because that's how traditional it is here, like, as an Igbo man, like, what if at the end of, like, when he goes to, now everybody now looks to you as, like, the guy, and you're just frail and you've not fixed yourself, and you're just there, what now happens? So there's an element of that, where you just realize that, oh shit, I need to get myself together quick, and you start the process at least. I know it's not going to happen like that, but at least you start the process. That's one of the things that kind of, like, jolts us back into action too. So I'm with you on that, actually.
And I think I had one other thing to say about that. This is one of the things that made separation easier, right? Is that I'm going to use a cheesy influencer word to describe this, right? I feel enlightened. I feel like I've reached a level of clarity that I've never been at before, right? What sucks about that is having been the person that I was and now being the person that I am, I know for a fact that this person couldn't convince that person of the way that I'm thinking now. The only way I was going to get here was through my own hard knock life experiences, because I'm hard headed. That's just the way I am. And I know that, and the reason that helped me create that separation is because I then acknowledge, like, they're not at that part for them yet. So if there's nothing I could say to convince me at that point in my life, I know there's nothing that I could say to convince someone who's not me, that's not at that point in their life yet.
Bro, you just put it the best way. You put it the best way. I'm with you. What I was trying to say that time, I was rambling, but you put it the best way. Like, you trying to, when I was talking about, trying to, you see what's wrong with someone else, not because you're, like, sitting on some high horse, but because, you've done some work on yourself and you've become self-aware to a point, where you are now working on yourself, but you can now clearly see why you might not be able to be on the same wavelength with someone else. So you cannot fix them. So you kind of just focus on yourself. And sometimes that can mean you removing yourself from that situation, because you really cannot do anything to help someone that is not ready to, like, work on themselves. So what I was trying to say then in so many words, you just put it so beautifully now by saying, like, if you could not convince yourself back then, like, what makes you think, like, it would be arrogant of you to think that, you could step in and be Jesus Christ for some guy, who is not at that level yet. People have to walk their own path and get there at their own time.
I mean, this whole conversation is a bar, though, because this is your proof that communicating and talking about it, you're not alone. What are the, like, we're not even on the same side of the fucking planet, and our experiences
and we have so many, like,
yeah, so similar, dog. Like,
bro,
like, that's
crazy.
Don't be afraid to talk about how you're feeling, and don't be afraid to go into that next part of your life. You know what I mean? Damn.
I appreciate that, man.
Who are your top 5 favorite rappers in Nigeria?
Bro, my top 5 rappers in Nigeria. Well, I think I've had the same list for a long time, and I don't think it has changed much.